Hello and welcome to Scott Rock.
We're your hosts from Climb Scotland, Robert Mackenzie.
And me, Cal McBain, catch up with climbers every 2 weeks who have different epic tales to tell us.
We hope you enjoy the show.
And remember, when you're out climbing, be safe and do your buddy checks.
Hey, and welcome back to Scott Rock. Today on the show, I have an old friend joining me, one of the coolest people you will ever meet. Such an inspiration to everybody. Anna Wells, fresh mountaineering and climbing instructor, international mountain leader, doctor, all-round mountain fanatic. For all of you who know Anna, you will agree with me that she has accomplished a lot in a short period of time, and with the struggles and setbacks that she's faced in that time, Anna's story from mega strong teenage crusher to mountaineering instructor is one of the most inspiring stories you'll hear. Lots of lessons to be learned from Anna's inspirational words here. So grab a cuppa, sit down and chill with me and Anna Wells. Cool. Are we ready to go?
Yeah, we're ready to go.
Are you nervous?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
Oh my god, this is actually happening. Actually getting to sit down with Anna Wells.
You finally pinned me down.
Finally. Right, yeah, actually, to start off with, I have interviewed quite a few people now. Some big names, some total legends, some people that I never thought I'd actually get a chance to sit down and talk to. But out of all of them, Miss Wells, you were the most difficult to pin down.
I'm very sorry.
But I've got you. You're here.
You have.
And you can't get out of it now. Well, I mean, this is over Zoom. You could hang up on me if you really wanted to, but please don't.
I promise I won't.
So yeah, it turns out that no matter how many amazing things you do, no matter how much of an inspiration you are to so many people, and no matter how many selfies you post on Instagram, you are still quite shy and modest about when it comes to like bragging about yourself.
Oh, yeah. Well, nobody likes to brag about themselves, do they?
Dude, I've made an entire career over that.
I listened to your podcast just yesterday, actually, and you were very humble, I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I won't be humble from now on. That was my one time being humble. My ego is now huge. So yeah, this is my opportunity finally to sit you down and ask you loads of questions. So, I mean, I'm just going to go big. I'm going to say, tell me everything about your life from day one, go.
Is that a real question?
No, it's not a real question. I'm not going to be that mean to you.
Good.
So yeah, we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah, we have.
Could you actually put a guess as to how long it's been?
Well, it's probably been like 19 years, I think.
At least that, because did you start climbing at the wall when the wall was first opened?
No, I was a little bit after.
You were a little bit
after.
after.
I remember
right?
going in to look at the wall and being amazed, seeing all these people going up and down, and being really, really jealous and knowing that I wanted to do it. But I started when I was 12, so you would have been like 10-ish?
Yeah, 10 or 11. So yeah, that was a couple of years after the wall in Inverness opened.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's been 19, nearly 20 years.
Yeah, like 2/3 of our lives.
That's a scary, scary thought. That makes me feel really old now.
Me too.
So yeah, I consider that I grew up with you, Anna. We grew up climbing together in the Inverness wall. It was awesome. We had an amazing squad back then.
We did. I think we were so lucky. We just had such an amazing gang of psych people.
Yeah, man. Like the crew that we had some super strong kids in that group as well. Like, me and you were not by far the strongest in that group.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And I was thinking, when I was writing down questions to ask you, I was like, I wonder what memories, like what Anna's favourite memory from back then is. What could you give me one of your favourite memories from back in the day? Old school memory.
I remember your birthday party at Cummingston. I remember that as being an amazing day. Do you not even remember?
Wow.
That?
Wow, I'd totally forgotten I even had a birthday at Cummingston.
You did,
We did the Tyrolean Traverse across to the sea stack, didn't we?
We did, yeah. And we did top roping on the prow, the big overhang.
Oh yeah, top rope in the prow. That's an exciting one.
And I also remember your dad had made you a cake with some sort of very talented icing painting on the top of a climber. A man of many skills was your dad. He is
a man of many skills. I'll give him that. I don't have. He sent me. He painted me a couple of things recently. I've got them up in the flat here. They're awesome. I'll send you some photos afterwards, because that's relevant to this podcast. Oh, I love it, man. We had some fun trips back then.
We definitely did. Those trips to go and compete at the Bricks, as it was then, the YCS finals, were like definitely the highlight of my years. I used to look forward to them.
They were
so much.
good, so good. Like we did loads of trips as well. We did loads of outdoor trips, loads of comp trips. You know, we were away loads. It was brilliant. And
I think your dad was like massively instrumental. Definitely for me personally, in sort of giving me those opportunities to go climbing outside that I otherwise definitely wouldn't have had.
Yeah.
It's so cool that like you're doing the same thing now, and I'm trying to do the same thing now.
What do you mean trying? You are doing the same thing now.
Yeah, I want to do more of it.
Yeah.
I think it's so important.
So, from your thoughts back in the day, where was your love for climbing? Like, where was that fixed? Was it on the indoor side, the outdoor side, the competition side? Because obviously we like you said, my dad got us to do a huge range of all of it. So, like, what was the thing that kind of tied you to climbing?
I think I always liked like hanging out at the climbing wall. So like the indoor side of things.
Yeah.
I didn't really have, like, other than the times I went out with your dad and you guys, I didn't have that much exposure to outdoor climbing until I went off to uni. I used to kind of beg various people at the climbing wall to take me out, which often resulted in being put on routes that were far too hard for me and getting really scared.
Yeah, did you ever go out with like Nick de Boost and Mike Lee?
I have a very vivid memory of, I think my first time ever trad climbing, I went out with Nick de Boost and Mike Lee, and they put me on Razor Flake at Tuntelchig, the HVS.
That's
so
cool.
It was cruel. I'd never placed gear or anything like that, and I don't think they'd even like prepped me on how to do it. So I was leading up this route, and Nick was beside me on abseil, which in retrospect was actually quite responsible. But what he was also doing was like filming me having a little cry halfway up the route.
Please tell me the footage of that still exists.
You'd have to speak to Nick about that.
Let's see if I can hunt him down.
But he did also like lean over and place a nut for me, so they were looking after me.
Good.
As well.
But I mean, Razor Flakes, that, you know, you're 10, 12 feet off the deck by the time you get your first bit of gear.
Yeah, although, like, I guess coming from such an indoor climbing background, it was probably less distressing if you knew you had to just climb and there wasn't any gear, and then it became distressing when you knew you had to place gear and you didn't know how to do it.
God, I've got so many stories going through my head, but I'm not going to get sidetracked here. I'm going to continue with what I was wanting to chat about. So, like, we did a lot of stuff back then, but now you have come full circle. You are a fully qualified MCI.
I am, yes,
you
as
are.
of this year.
So, what do you get to do as an MCI? What is an MCI?
So MCI stands for Mountaineering and Climbing Instructor, and it's the new name for what used to be called MIA. So it allows us to basically do anything at all in summer conditions relating to mountaineering or climbing. So typically teaching people how to trad climb, and taking people scrambling in places like the Coolin Ridge or routes on Ben Nevis. Just
total freedom to go and play.
Total freedom. Yeah,
awesome.
Exactly. It's like a big pass to just go and do whatever you want. That's safe, of course.
And this is a pretty recent thing. You only just passed it as well.
Yeah, just in September this year.
Nice. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yes. I was delighted to get it done. It's nice to feel like 2020 has delivered something positive.
Yes. there's another sidetrack. Like I've had this conversation with a bunch of people lately, and as bad as 2020 has been, climbing has actually been a reasonably good year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you mean in terms of like things that people have achieved in the climbing community? And
yes. And the full spectrum of that, whether it's grades or cool adventures or passing awesome assessments like you.
Yeah, no, totally. I think for a lot of people, just having, after the first lockdown's ease, just having more free time and thinking about what's important and having missed it for so long as well.
Yeah.
People have just been able to go and do lots of it.
Mega motivation to go and do it.
Definitely.
So what is it that you want to do with this ticket, with the MCI? Like you said, you want to do more, work with kids like we got to do back in the day. So what is it you want to do with the MCI?
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoy working with kids. And I think the aspect I like most about it all is teaching. So rather than just like taking people on experiences, I really like being able to teach and give people the skills so that they can go forth and do things independently. Yeah. So I'd like to do more of that for sure, especially with like kids and women, because there's not so many female MCIs in Scotland kind of actively working, and maybe especially for kids and women it's more like relatable or less intimidating. I don't know, I don't like to use that word or that term, but I think for some people they do feel like that. It's right,
I'm going to tell Al Halewood that you just called him intimidating. But you've already done, you advertised some youth sessions after you passed the MCI, and you've done a lot of work with GCRS. You were part of the birth of GCRS, were you not?
Yeah, I started up the youth squad that then evolved into becoming the GCRS. Yeah. Because I'd come from Inverness, where we had that like amazing youth scene and so many psyched kids climbing all the time, and then I'd gone to uni in Aberdeen and got a job at the climbing wall. Yeah. And I was a bit sad that there wasn't really a youth scene. So there was like the kids clubs that the wall would run, and there was a lot of talented kids within that, but they were just kind of coming once a week, and the system meant it wasn't so easy for kids to like progress, because there'd be like beginners joining the group every week, and there was also a lot of talented kids who'd be coming down with their parents. Yeah. So I kind of handpicked a load of kids and invited them to like Sunday training. So we used to do like Sunday coaching and practice competitions, and they all got involved with the youth series. And then that just developed into the Granite City Rockstars, which is now like a much more inclusive club as well. So it's not just aimed at like coaching and experienced people, it's aimed also at beginners, and they're doing a lot of outdoor stuff now too. Yeah, I've worked with them quite a bit over the last couple of years. It's been great. So yeah, you've always had a love for teaching kids, and I suppose, like you said, it's kind of come from being that kid yourself. And now with this ticket, you're getting to do some proper awesome stuff with kids. So the love for teaching, like, what does it mean for you? Like, what do you get out of teaching kids? Not just what they get out of you. Yeah, that's a deep question. That is a deep question. Well, I think it's the same with like teaching anyone, really. It's just seeing, I guess, like, because we've all got that sense of being like addicted to climbing and having that passion for it, and I think seeing that start up or ignite in someone else, and like knowing that you've been a small part of that, is just like really, really cool, and imagining like how that's going to go forwards in their lives. Yeah. And I think it is different, like if you're teaching people to do something rather than just sort of giving them a very managed experience, that they're going to be able to like develop that into a big passion. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, well, that makes sense. So yeah, like the MCI, you passed it this year. You're trying to start, doing all this stuff this year, but obviously this is not
it's not been a great year for a lot of things. How have you found it on a professional level, trying to get all this stuff up and running and sort of getting your MCI ticked, doing all the prerequisites you had to do for that, and then getting work this year? How have you found it?
I think in the beginning it was all a bit stressful, but I think it just became so chaotic, and there'd just be like blow after blow, and after a point you're just like, oh, it's just another catastrophic thing that's happened. Because originally this year, I passed my international mountain leader assessments in February. I finished the winter part, and I had like a full season of international trekking work lined up from sort of April to October. And then that all just disappeared in one big puff. So it was after I came back to Scotland, because I'd been out in France until March. And it was actually only then that I decided to do the MCI this year, because I'd kind of planned to, earn some money this year doing the IML work. But then I thought that the opportunity to just focus whenever lockdown eased in July and August purely on doing my MCI just seemed like a really nice alternative focus. And I loved it. Like, I absolutely loved preparing for it. I had so many good fun days out, like scrambling and teaching climbing with like friends, colleagues, some random people who I found on Facebook, and it was just so much fun. Awesome.
It's nice to hear that, like, while this has been a stressful year, it's actually brought some big positives for you, And I know that sitting at home watching your Instagram waiting to get out has been inspirational, because you have done some crazy stuff this year, man.
Oh, thanks.
You've been on some awesome adventures. So yeah, I'm going to get deep. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go deep here. Okay. So you've always had this deep underlying sort of love for climbing, the mountains, teaching, but you've not always wanted to be an MCI.
No.
No.
I've taken quite a long road to get there.
You have taken quite a long roller coastery road to get there. Little Anna's original direction in life was to become a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was actually a segment even before that, because I did a 4-year mathematics degree at Aberdeen University, and then started working as an actuary, doing like insurance-y stuff.
Yeah.
Then I moved on to medicine.
So, right, from leaving school and deciding what you're going to... Tell me about that journey. Like, what made you want to do mathematics for 4 years and then totally change that to go and be a doctor?
I really, really like maths, and I still do. And so it just seemed like a very enjoyable thing to do at university.
That doesn't sound like a very enjoyable thing to do at all. Sorry, I'm going to be honest.
I think it's a bit like Marmite with maths. Like, you either love it or you hate it. And I'm weird and I love it.
I'm going to say that maths has got a problem with me.
Yeah, that's a good way to phrase it that way around.
So you went to uni to do maths just because you loved maths. It wasn't to head for a certain career.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And then, like, at the end, I got a job. Well, it was a graduate job and a summer internship between 3rd and 4th year with a company in Edinburgh. And whilst I was doing this internship in the summer before my final year, I kind of got this obsession that I just wanted to be a doctor and I wanted to do medicine, and there was nothing else to it. And I met a girl during the internship who had felt the same, but she was now an employee with the company.
Right.
So she had decided she wanted to do medicine, but thought she'd take the graduate job just in case she didn't get in. And then she got her place in medicine, but stuck with the company because she was like, oh, I'm comfortable and I'm earning money now. And then the next year she applied to medicine again, got in again, but was like, oh no, I'm too settled in my ways now doing this actuarial job. And I was like, oh my goodness, I don't want that to be me. And I quit that day. So I quit my internship, lost the graduate job.
That day?
Went back.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I went back to uni and I just started doing loads and loads of voluntary work for the rest of the year, like alongside finishing my maths degree. So like working with the ambulance service and like care work and stuff, just to build up a good CV for applying to medicine.
Wow. So where did that, you said it was an obsession that you decided that you wanted to be a doctor. Like, where did that come from?
I think it was something I'd always thought about.
You chose to do maths, but you always had it in the back of your head that you wanted to do medicine.
Yeah.
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 So, like, where did that come from? Like, I'm curious. Obviously, you've always been super intelligent, super smart, love for maths, high level education. Was there a pressure to kind of capitalize on that? Is that where the doctor thing came from? Like, I am able to be a doctor, so I need to, commit to this.
I think there wasn't a conscious pressure, but I think there was probably a subconscious pressure, because I think, unfortunately, that's kind of how the education system works. Like, I think when you're having your chat in high school with your guidance teacher, you do get kind of guided in a certain direction. And so, yes, I definitely didn't feel I was ever going against my will, but I do think there is a subconscious pressure that if you're academic, then you should pick one of these careers because you can.
Yeah.
And actually, that's something that, like, I've thought a lot about, and at some point in the future, I would love to be able to go and, like, speak in schools and talk about alternative career paths, because... or is this my opportunity now?
This is your opportunity. This is your chance. This is going to go out to millions of people, I promise. Millions of people. Every child in the country is going to listen to this and get inspiration here.
To all you children listening to this, don't just be limited in your career ideas to thinking you have to go to university, or thinking that you have to do one of these sort of high-level, high-paid jobs. You need to think about what you love doing and what you're going to enjoy doing. And there's so many options that you just don't really think about in school. And especially now that, like, the internet's so massive, there's so much more, like, media related things, and, like, it's just a whole different world, I think, to what we had back then. Like you said, there's so many jobs out there that you wouldn't, as a 16-year-old in school, you would never have heard of. You would never know that these jobs existed. So yeah, it's following a passion, like you said. And, like, can you imagine the horror on a guidance counsellor's face if a straight A student turned around and said, "I want to be a mountaineering instructor"? That's and I think that's
of.
the thing. Like, I think there's just the fact that if there's horror, that's just so wrong. Like, I think we just need to relook at everything.
Yeah, totally. I will say though that this is going to be a slight advertisement for Rocks and Trails here. But if there's any MCI in the country that I would like to go out on the hill with, just in case something goes wrong, it's going to be the doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely had clients say they feel reassured with that knowledge when they've known.
So, did you have thoughts back then about wanting to work in the mountains or in climbing? Because what was your kind of uni life like? Obviously, you had more freedom to go out climbing. You were going outside more. You were climbing with friends, more as a recreation thing rather than just a club or competing, but still working towards your degree. So, like, what was that uni life like, that transition? Yeah,
like, I guess most of my social life was via people I met in the climbing world, like, because I worked there and just sort of the other instructors. So I was doing loads and loads of climbing. But I think I never thought about it as a career.
It was always just the fun thing you did.
Yeah, and I was aware that it was a career. I do remember in fourth year of medicine, when I was sitting studying for finals for days and days on end, I remember looking through the application criteria for, like, the guide scheme, the IFMGA guide scheme, and I think that was probably the closest I was like realistically thinking about alternative careers.
Yeah.
I did my ML and my SPA like quite early on when I was like, I did my SPA when I was like 19 maybe, and I did my ML training around that time, although
Right.
I didn't do my assessment for another 10 years. So I was kind of like aware of the industry.
Yeah.
But I just never realistically thought about doing it because, I don't know, I guess I was just on this
You were on
road
this
that I thought I was on, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny hearing you say that you were looking at the criteria for the guide scheme in your 4th year as you're studying for the final exams, when you changed from mathematics after you just got the internship, and then you went to do medicine. Like, it's funny, it's like right at the point where
I know,
you're
it makes me sound like a very...
and starting to get a job, you decide to change.
I know it makes me sound very indecisive and non-committal.
I didn't say that at all. That's not what I said.
No, but like, so interestingly for me, the thing with medicine, so I finished my medical degree and then I worked for 2 years as a junior doctor.
Yeah.
But my transition then to the outdoors was not about thinking like, oh, that's something I really want to go and do instead. It was in realizing that I like just could not cope with the job.
Right.
In medicine.
So what was it like that first year as being a junior doctor then? Like, was kind of what did you think the job was going to be, and what was the kind of the realism of it?
I think for me the difficult thing was I just felt really, really stressed like all the time. And I think it was a personality thing because I'm like very, very conscientious and quite perfectionistic, and I think I just felt like everything was my responsibility, and I just had a permanent massive fear of like ever doing something that wasn't perfectly optimizing a patient's care.
Yeah.
And obviously with the pace of the NHS, like you just cannot do everything to perfection. Like I remember during a psychiatry placement in med school, one of the psychiatrists saying to me like, oh, I'm worried about how much you care about everything. He was like, it takes this amount of time, you can't see my hand gestures, but like small, tiny amount of time to make something 90% okay, but then it takes like this disproportionately huge amount of time to make something 100% okay.
Yeah. And
he was saying like, you need to learn to be comfortable with the 90%. But I think when I was working as a doctor and just feeling so responsible for everything, I was just always unsettled. So I'd be like staying hours late every night to make sure I'd done every conceivable thing I could, and then like, you know, phoning up the ward to check I'd done this and that. And yeah, it was exhausting.
Not to be controversial, but you care too much to be a doctor.
Well, yeah, I think it's just about needing to like learn to be more sensible and practical about what really, really matters and what's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So after those
rather
2
than
years,
having to go above and beyond for every patient.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it was kind of like self-confidence as well. Just like lacking the belief that my judgment was good enough.
Yeah.
In medicine, and I think confidence is like such an interesting thing because I think we talk about it as if it's like one thing. But I think you can be immensely confident in one area and totally not in another. Because
yeah, totally.
Like for me in the mountains, I feel like super, super confident, and even like looking after people, I feel totally happy in my judgments and making decisions about things. Whereas I just never got to that point in medicine.
Right. Yeah. Confidence is relative.
Yeah, exactly. Depends on the situation and your experiences.
Yeah. So you were this 2 years that you were a junior doctor. You were placed in Fort William, right?
I had the first year in Raigmore in Inverness.
Oh, right. I thought you were 2 years in Fort William for some reason.
No, just 1 year in Fort William.
Right. So was it any different changing from Inverness to Fort William then? Because obviously that was a second year. Had you sort of settled a bit more into the job, or was the last year more of like knowing that something wasn't right?
I think I just had ups and downs along the way, to be honest. It was quite a big step moving to Fort William because the hospital there, because it's a small rural hospital, just the way it's set up, like I would be the only doctor in the hospital on like night shifts and sometimes on weekends, and you always had a consultant who you could phone, but they would usually be the same person who'd be on for the next day, so you couldn't like phone them all night long. So that was quite challenging. I think sometimes I kind of thrived a bit under that pressure, and sometimes it was just like overwhelming.
Right. Was there like a moment where you were thinking like this isn't right, I'm not enjoying this, or was it like a kind of background feeling that you had?
No, I think I realised quite early on, so about 4 months into my first junior doctor year, it got to the point where I sat down with my supervisor and the programme director and said, I'd like to leave the programme, and like, how do we go about doing this? But they persuaded me to keep going. But yeah, I guess I just kept, I don't know, I think like if you go through life, I've always relied on this formula that if you put in hard work, you will get the result.
Yeah.
And I just felt like no matter how hard I tried to like be able to cope with the job and do the job well, that I was just still struggling. And after 2 years, I kind of thought, well, it's like if you're just always hoping for something to be better in the future, it's like, when does the future become now? And actually, maybe this is long enough that I have tried this for. So I never decided like, that's it, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I just decided I needed a break, so I kind of ran away to Chamonix. I literally packed my life into my car and drove out to Chamonix. Didn't know anyone there.
Yeah.
And just lived out my car and did loads and loads of climbing and alpinism for, well, on and off for 2 years, really.
Yeah, like you totally like finished up your 2 years and escaped the country. You fled the border.
Yeah, more or less.
Was, that's, a huge leap of faith to drop a career like that after all the years that you've put into getting there, to decide I need a break or whatever, and to take that leap of faith, go for the career change or go for the break. That must have been a scary moment.
I think the thing is, there was never really one moment, because a lot of doctors take a year out or two after their second junior doctor year. It's quite a natural break in the system where you can take some time out.
Right.
And often people would do like locuming, so kind of like freelancing ad hoc shifts. And I did actually sign up to a locum agency before I ran away to France. So that was kind of like, it was always there. Like, I'd be getting texts about shifts every couple of days, and you're like, oh yeah, that's still there. And I guess it just made for like a slower transition.
But yeah, you did. You up and ran away. You bailed to the Alps. Why the Alps?
I'd spent quite a lot of time in the Alps and just like absolutely loved it. So I really love the sunshine. I love being warm and I love the sun, and I love like big mountain days and sort of big endurance-y, challengey stuff.
Yeah.
And I, like, back in 2013, me and Tim Gummersall had gone to the Alps to try and like climb as many 4,000ers as we could.
Yeah.
And I just like absolutely loved that, and I think I just wanted to go and like be in big mountains and just be like stress-free, carefree, seeing amazing views, like scrambling around, having type 1 fun.
Type 1 fun in the sun in the Alps, not quite the same as bumbling about on Nevis in between shifts.
Yeah, although to be fair, that was the summer of 2018, when we had like a few months of wall-to-wall sunshine.
Yeah.
I think that was when you came and stayed in Fort William. And actually that was like absolutely amazing, because I had a GP job at that time, so I was kind of like 9 till 6 every day, and I would go in the evenings like running up and down like Tower Ridge, Observatory Ridge, and I love Ben Nevis. Definitely not dissing Ben Nevis.
Oh no,
but there's more options for sure.
More options and more sun to be had.
More sun, yeah, I think so.
So, like, what was the kind of plan with your break? Did you have a plan at all, or did you just decide, like, I need a way, I love the Alps, I need to just go and spend some time there?
Yeah, that was literally as far as my plan went. Like, I didn't know... I said to myself, actually, I remember saying to myself, like, give yourself a year to, like, not be stressed and not feel like you need to have a plan or need to choose what's happening next. So, like, during that first year, anytime I caught myself being like, oh, but what am I going to do? I was like, no, just stop, just enjoy the now and have a good time.
That right there is amazing advice.
Yeah, I think that was good. Because we spend so much time, like, worrying about the future, and often, like, opportunities do just come along and things just happen.
Yeah.
And we worry about things that never actually occur or we never actually need to end up thinking about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what was your time like in that, for that? Were you out there for a year or 2 years?
Well, I was back and forwards a little bit. I was out more or less for the first, like, end of summer, autumn and winter, but then I came back I had a shoulder operation last April.
Yeah.
So I came back to the UK for that. And then I went back out to the Alps and did lots of walking because I was doing my international mountain leader stuff there. So I basically bought, like, the biggest bum bag I could find so that I didn't need to carry a rucksack while my shoulder was healing. And I was able to go trekking and stuff.
Awesome. The photos of you with a bum bag looking like the biggest American tourist bumbling about on hills in the Alps. Yeah, what was that a couple of years like then? Just without a plan, just enjoying yourself. Was it what you were hoping that gap was going to be?
So initially my plan had been, so over the last few years I'd done quite a lot of, like, dry tooling competitions. I'd taken part in the Ice Climbing World Cup for 4 years, but I'd always felt like I hadn't quite had the chance to give it my all because it had been alongside, like, medical school and working.
Yeah.
So my initial plan was I wanted to just train. Like, I literally just wanted to go and move into Ratho and do loads and loads and loads of climbing and training and bouldering. But then I injured my shoulder, so I couldn't do that. I couldn't really climb hard, so that was kind of why I went out to the Alps instead. But actually, like, yeah, I had the most amazing time ever. I kind of got into the idea of, like, I guess I'd call it fast and light alpinism, but off an easier level. So I did loads of 4,000ers as, like, day trips from car to car. So instead of, like, walking up to a hut and staying in a hut or using lifts, I'd just, like, start at midnight at the car and then go up and all the way up and down in a day. And that like saves a lot of money, but also meant you didn't have to, like, carry all your night stuff. And yeah, I loved that. I really enjoyed that. And I wouldn't have done that if I'd been in Ratho, but I would have also loved that. Like, I think that's the thing with life. You get thrown these curveballs and things take a different direction to what you planned for them to go. But as long as you, like, keep doing things that you love and are true to you, then I think you just end up on
the right path eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, I think given the choice of, you know, doing day trips up 4,000ers in the Alps or living at Ratho, I think I know which one I'd choose.
It's just different though, isn't it? Like, if it's feeding a passion and it's something that you love. Yeah, I don't know.
I think I know which one I'd choose.
Yeah.
So what was the kind of highlights of what you did then?
I think one of my favourite things I did was 2 days with, do you know Neil Adams from Glasgow?
I recognise the name.
we went and did like 2 days in a row of doing 4,000ers, but they only had, like, maybe 3 hours sleep in between, and it was like a total of 5,000 meters, I think, in the end. But the sort of end of the second day, it was this traverse between 2 peaks called Lenspitz and Nadelhorn, and it's just like the most amazing high level traverse. It's, I don't know, like, you know, it's easy. It's like AD plus alpine grade, which maybe is equivalent to like VDiff, VDiff, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we just had amazing weather and we were just like so tired but having so much fun. And I think that's my favourite thing, is just like scrambling around, moving on interesting terrain where you're like engaged but you're not fearing for your life, and you're moving so you're not getting cold.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that. And then like I did Mont Blanc in a day as well, which was quite cool, like from Les Ouches, which is at 800 metres.
Yeah.
We set off at midnight and then the top's at 4, 8, 10, I think. So it was like...
Good effort.
Big walk up.
Yeah.
The last like 500 metres were much harder than all the rest put together.
Why?
But that was cool.
Did you have any issues with altitude going that quick?
Well, only because I kind of forgot that I'd unacclimatized, because I'd like been out in the Alps for quite a long time, and then as it happened I had spent like the previous few weeks rock climbing low down, and I just forgot that acclimatization was a thing, if that makes sense, because I was so used to like going up high and coming down and just being constantly acclimatized, that I think I actually had declimatized quite a bit before that, and that definitely made it harder.
Yeah, like doing that much ascent in a day, that's ambitious. Like that would definitely mess with me. Like the highest I've been up, I will admit to being super, super lazy, and I got the cable car up the Aiguille du Midi. And
oh, nice.
There was like 4 people in the cable car with me, had to get taken down instantly because they had altitude sickness. Or they were not they were not feeling well at all.
You feel it like walking up and down the steps around the building, don't you? Or did you not feel it?
I didn't feel it too much. I felt alright. It was cold.
Yeah.
It was colder than I thought it was going to be. I don't know why I didn't think it was going to be cold. You know, it's way up in the mountains.
Yeah. When were you there?
That was 2009? Yeah, 2009. Nice. It's when I just left school. Yeah, I just left school.
Cool.
That was the trip I got blown up, actually.
Oh, the tent went on fire. Your fingers have recovered now.
Everything has recovered nicely. Yeah.
Glad to hear
it. Yeah, that was that trip. That's probably why we got the cable car up actually, is because I was still wrapped up in bandages.
Yeah, you were looking for alternative activities to do.
Yeah. I didn't appreciate the €80 for one trip, though.
No, yeah, it's super expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have like most people out there have a season pass, and the first year I was out, I didn't have one. Well, for the summer, and like, so a lot of the rock climbing places like Brevant and Flégère, it starts like at the top of the second cable car.
Yeah. So
I just used to get up really early and walk up and meet whoever was my climbing partner who'd have come up on the cable car and carried the ropes. So that like became my routine.
So yeah, you said you dotted about between Chamonix and Scotland within that couple of years, and obviously you did some pretty cool stuff out there, but you also ticked some big things over here. You did some major ticks. Actually, you got the record. You had the record for the Coolin Traverse, fastest female traverse of the Coolin Ridge on Skye. That has since been nailed from you.
Yeah, it certainly has. I have to say, completely honestly, that my immediate reaction to that, and the only one I've had since, is just like total joy, because when I first did that and sort of put my time down, like, you know, called it a record or a fastest time, I was like mostly embarrassed because it's so much lower than the guy's time.
What was it? Was it 6.5?
Yeah, 6.5 hours. But like the guy's record's like less than 3 hours, you know, so it was more than double.
I mean, still, that's a long way to go in 6.5 hours.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I was like really, really psyched when I knew that someone had kind of looked up my record and decided to go and do it faster.
Yeah.
Like, I was just delighted that it's become a thing. But I definitely do want to try and go back and beat it.
I was going to ask, are you going to go back?
Oh yeah, I'd definitely love to.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm surprised you didn't, if you felt that way about it, I'm surprised you didn't go and try and beat your own record beforehand. Like, like the old school speed ascents of stuff in Yosemite, like guys would go up one day and put up a time, and then the next day would go up and take 3 minutes off their previous time.
Yeah, no, I 100% wanted to. And my desire to go back and do it faster is probably not that different now that the record's been broken than it already was before, if that makes sense. Because I've got a time in my head that I want to try and do it in. And
will you tell us the time?
I'd love to do that. No. I'll tell you if I do it.
Oh, damn. No, you got to tell us the time, because then we can hold you to it.
Oh, nah, I'll let you know if I do it.
Okay. I better be the first to know.
First release. Yeah, yes. Okay.
Yes. Awesome. Oh, well, I'm psyched to hear you try and go back for that,
Yeah.
Have you got... Are you going to try it next year, do you think?
Yeah, I think next spring and summer I'll probably spend quite a lot of time guiding on the ridge. So yeah, hopefully days off and so much of it's micro route finding as well. So I guess I'll gain an inside out intrinsic knowledge of every rock on the ridge and be able to optimize a journey.
Well, if you want a day guiding on it, you can take me along.
Oh yeah, have you done the ridge as a traveller? No. We should definitely do that together.
Totally. I've been wanting to do it for so long. I don't know why I've never actually just gone and done it. But yes, I would love to go.
100%. Let's go and do that.
Don't try and take me along for any kind of speed record though. I'm not planning being fast.
Oh sure, I'd only be holding you back. You'd probably be faster than me.
Not these days. When I want to get back into the MCI thing. When did you decide that you wanted to do your international mountain leader to start working properly in the mountains and not just for play anymore? Obviously, you said you did your SPA in that way back when you did your ML assessment, but you hadn't really considered it as a career choice. When was that decision to actually make it a career?
I think it was the first winter I was out living in Chamonix. I just met, I guess I was friends with a lot of people who were on the guide scheme. And actually I first thought that I wanted to do the guide scheme, and I got quite overly psyched on that, trying to start collecting all the ticks for doing the sort of IFMGA scheme.
Yeah.
And then I also met a lot of people who had their IML, and I think I realised that the reason I was initially attracted to the guide scheme was because I was okay, I want to go for the highest level award. It seemed like the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
But then when I actually sat back and thought about what each of the jobs would involve and the kind of lifestyle I wanted, I decided that the IML sounded a lot nicer. Walking around with groups of happy people in the sunshine and big chunks of work, pretty much always managing your trip, everyone usually makes it round the Tour de Mont Blanc trek or the Hope Route Trail, and it just seemed like such a nice job, a lot easier on your body and mentally than guiding people. And then I guess just from all the people I met out there, I just sort of got a good insight into lots of different jobs and ways of life, and also just the idea that I wanted a simple, stress-free life, because I started when I kind of realised I was going to stay out there for a while and my savings were running out. I got a couple of jobs, so I did a lot of babysitting and dog walking and transfer driving, and I was I think at first there was definitely a part of me that struggled a little bit with identity, because before I'd seen myself as a doctor and a climber, and then suddenly I felt like I was neither of those things, because that was before my operation. I still wasn't really able to climb, but then I just kind of became comfortable with that, and I was oh, this is actually really, really nice, just being able to live cheaply, drive people around, walk some dogs, and then go climbing and skiing for 5 days. And it's like, this is all right.
Yeah, a bit of a world change when you go from being a doctor to a dirtbag.
Yeah. I definitely enjoy being a dirtbag.
So, what did the kind of process of getting your qualifications look like then? Because I'm not sure what goes into the International Mountain Leader.
So the International Mountain Leader has got a summer training course, which is 5 days in the UK, and then a summer assessment, which is 5 days in the Alps, or Pyrenees or whatever.
Yeah.
So I did that. Like, I did them quite quickly because I had a lot of experience. So I was able to do my training and assessment summer ones in the same year, like in May and then July.
Yeah.
But I was able to dedicate all the time in between them to like focusing on it. So I shadowed like a 2-week trip with a company as a assistant leader and took turnabout leading days.
Yeah.
And just spent lots of time out in the Alps preparing. And then for the winter component of the IML, you have a training and assessment course both out in the Alps. And Plasy Brennan, the centre in Wales, have got a system where if you've got quite a lot of experience on snow, then they'll let you do your training and assessment in the same year.
Right.
So I did their like first training course at the start of January and then their last training course at the end of February. And I actually think in a lot of ways that's easier than doing it a year apart, because it was like all super fresh in my mind and I just had those like 8 weeks in between to consolidate. Practice snowshoeing. So the IML is all about snowshoeing. You don't use axes and crampons. We're not qualified for doing that. It's just for going snowshoeing.
Yeah, the axes and crampons, that's more in the guide level kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I'm not sure if rats have got intermediate qualifications for like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. When did you fit your MCI training in then?
I did that in the September
last year, right?
Yeah, so like in between the summer and winter bit of the IML, and that was kind of touch and go because I'd had my shoulder operation in April, and I literally hadn't climbed, I don't think at all, until the week before my MCI training. I was like, oh, I better give this a shot. I was quite nervous about you do a day of rescue practice, and people had told me like that it's the most physical thing you'll ever do in your life. That they were pretty nice to us, so it was okay. Nice.
And then you did, your MCI assessment in September. So, what's life been like on a personal sort of side this year? Like having been able to go back climbing again after your shoulders. Is your shoulder all right? Like all good now?
Yeah, it's like I made such a fortunate full recovery.
Yeah.
Within like 9 months, I was pretty much not noticing it.
Yeah.
So I feel very lucky.
So yeah, like this year, like on a personal, like getting all these qualifications, being able to go climbing again. Obviously, with everything else that's gone on this year, how's life?
Oh, life's good. Thank you very much. I guess I did loads and loads of sport climbing in like June.
Yeah.
Before we were allowed to travel, I just went like 4 days a week to the Camel.
Yeah, so many photos of you in the Camel.
Oh my gosh, I loved it there. I'd never actually like spent so much time sport climbing ever, and it was really cool. Yeah, it was awesome. I really, really enjoyed that. But then I kind of like I think I can be quite obsessive. Like I'm good at focusing on one thing at once. So as soon as we were allowed to travel, my brain was like, right, now you've got to focus on your MCI. And I was like, oh no, but I should still spend a couple of days like sport climbing to keep all this fitness that I've just built up.
Yeah.
Because I was climbing better than I ever have in my whole life. But no, my brain just didn't let me do that. And I spent all my time like short roping, scrambling, and, climbing V-dip at the most.
Yeah.
Which I, as I said, like loved. I really enjoyed all of that. But my fitness just went totally out the window.
What happens, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
But you
and then, sorry, go on.
well, you might be about to say this, but I've seen a couple of posts on Instagram lately. You're focusing on bouldering for the winter.
Well, that was the plan, and I really enjoyed like the 3 sessions that I had before I developed crippling tennis elbow.
Oh.
So I've been quite unlucky with injuries, I think. But
You have been
climbers...
really unlucky with injuries. Like,
yeah.
You've had like such a roller coaster all over everything that we've spoken about in the last hour. Like, it has been such a roller coaster, and injuries just seem to be like mixed in there as the little twists and turns.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of cool though, because they just like, I don't know, you always come back more psyched, don't you? And
yeah, like it's like, you know, that 3 months of lockdown not being allowed to do anything. That first week, you were just like, oh my god, I don't care that it's top roping, I'm getting to go climbing. So yeah,
totally.
Coming back from injury must be the same.
Yeah, and I think you just come to accept it. You're just like, oh, no more climbing again. Because like after that operation, I was climbing again by the end of the year, and then I did loads of climbing for 3 months, and then I snapped a pulley in my finger. So then I had a couple of months off, and then just when I got to fitness again was when lockdown happened.
Yeah.
and then yeah, there was like awesome sport climbing, and then I got all obsessed by the MCI. And
at least during the first lockdown, you got enough recovery and give your
definitely
proper R&R.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people doing that.
Yeah, like I've heard so many people say that they came out of lockdown feeling stronger because they'd actually had rest.
Yeah,
they'd got to recover properly. Yeah. So what does now you've come the full circle? You've gone from climbing as a kid to maths to doctor to playing about in the Alps back to working and climbing. Like, you've come the full circle. What does the future look like for Miss Wells?
That's a good question. I think I'd like to do a mixture. I'd like to spend my year doing like a mixture of IML work, like some trekking work abroad, but also settle down a bit more in Scotland as a sort of main base, and do the teaching climbing and scrambling work. Not too sure about the winters because I'm like really bad with the cold, so I haven't done any UK winter qualifications, and I have no intention to.
I think
I kind of like
the same.
Are you?
Yeah.
Good. Oh, we should definitely go winter climbing together then.
Oh yeah, we'll just be two crying messes on a ledge somewhere.
And we'll both want to like bail for the hot chocolate at the same time.
Yeah, so. Totally. Like,
perfect.
You mean before we leave the car?
Yeah. Exactly. When we open the car door and feel how cold it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I'm exactly the same. That's one thing I've never really wanted to do. Like, I'm quite happy to go up to MCI level. I want to get my MCI, but playing about in winter for work does not excite me at all. I'm sorry, but no.
No. Yeah, same.
I think like agree. You can agree with me or not, but like going out for a personal day out winter climbing every now and again, or however often you want to do it, is great. But having to do it as a career, and like, no, that doesn't excite me.
I think as well, it's like when you're out for yourself, you know that at any point you can turn around and go for that hot chocolate. Whereas if you're out with a group of people, you're kind of committed to enduring it for the day.
Yeah, you got to convince them to go for the hot chocolate.
Exactly.
That's part of being a great mountain leader, I was taught, was like how to convince your group to bail so that you don't have to make the decision. You know, it's one of the best lessons that I ever got taught on ML training, was how to convince your group that it's time to go.
Yeah, get inside their heads and say all the right trigger words.
What about like personal climbing goals? Have you got any, apart from, you know, retaking your crown for the Coolin Traverse?
I would like to get better at sport climbing. I'd like to focus on that because I so much enjoyed that first stint after, like, in June. I thought it was really cool how like quickly I felt progression just by like constantly climbing, and I'd like to be able to do that. There's been a few points in my life where I've, you know, like had access to a wall like Ratho and being able to do it for a couple of months, and I'd just like to do that for a bit longer and just
like be able to dedicate some proper time
hard
to
I
it.
Climb. Yeah, I'd like to do that. I think that's my main motivation at the moment.
Nice. Are you planning taking that abroad anywhere, sport climbing? Because that's one thing you've not mentioned at all, is going away sport climbing in whatever. Obviously, there's lots of sport climbing around Chamonix.
Yeah. There's a really good winter crag where I went a lot during the winter.
Yeah.
Up at a place called Beyonce, and it was mad because you'd leave your flat and it would be like -8, really cold in the valley. But then you'd get up to this south-facing crag that's at, I think, a couple of thousand meters, and suddenly you'd be climbing in shorts and t-shirt, and it was amazing. I loved it.
That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome.
And I spent some time in Spain last winter as well.
Yeah.
And that had kind of been my plan for this winter. Like, if I'd done that big season of IML work and COVID hadn't happened, I'd planned to go and spend a few months climbing in Spain. But yeah, that can be a dream for the future.
For sure. Like, if you're going to... Like, the last couple of years, we've tried to go to Spain for winter, Christmas, New Year kind of time. And it's awesome. You've got to come with us. If I'm going to come with you and do the Coolin Ridge, you've got to come with me to Spain.
Deal. I am totally game for that. Oh, we should all go on a trip to Chile.
Yeah,
big
man.
Reunion.
That sounds awesome. Nice. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
What was that as bad as you thought?
I'm just going to sit now and reflect on all the stupid things that I possibly said.
It's alright, I can put together like a bloopers edit for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
That'll make me feel better.
Yeah, I'll release that instead of the proper interview.
Yeah, by accident.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for sitting down with me. It's sad that we can't do it face to face just now, but we will get out climbing soon, promise. Love it. Big thank you to Anna for sitting down with me. I know she was super nervous about chatting about herself for a full hour, but I think you'll agree with me that she did a fantastic job. And hopefully we will catch up with Anna soon, and I'll actually get to go out and do some climbing with her for something I've not done in a long, long time. And guess what? Guess what I will be doing when I'm out climbing with her? Doing my buddy checks. Make sure you do too.